Welcome back to another episode of Stacking Dennys. I'm Jordan McAbee of RotoBaller. My co-host Nick Giffen of the Action Network. Kyle Larson in victory lane for the second time at Homestead Miami Speedway. After a dominating effort by Ryan Blaney went up in smoke, he blew his engine after leading 124 laps on the day, which kind of made DFS lineups interesting because you had that rare occurrence of someone dominating a race, starting up front, and then having an issue and finishing almost dead last to where they did not make the optimal lineup despite having all the good stats. But Larson with the late pass on teammate Alex Bowman, who was on the pole for that race. Larson led the final 19 laps, got the win. Alex Bowman, Bubba Wallace, the podium finishers. Bubba Wallace led 56 laps that day. Chase Briscoe finally found some speed. He started fourth. He finished fourth. He was really fast at the end of that race. Hard Rock had him live at 50-1 when he was making moves. I sprinkled a little bit on there just because that 19 car looked good. Denny Hamlin also looked good. He came away with a top 5 finish. Other top 10 finishers, Buescher, Allmendinger, Reddick, Ryan Preece, and Justin Haley gets a top 10 finish for Front Row Motorsports. Your boy Zane Smith finishes 11th. Nick, what'd you think of that race?
Yeah, pretty good race. I don't think it was the best Homestead race I've ever seen, but I mean, it's Homestead. It's good racing. So love that we saw, a late pass for the lead. Love that we could see guys trying the slide job or running the low line, running the high line, ripping the wall, running the middle, tire fall off as usual. Yeah, I mean, it's Homestead. It's always going to be a good race, right? And I'm very happy. I'm pretty sure. Didn't I make Kyle Larson my 36 for 36?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think I did.
I could be wrong.
I think we recorded it what was it, Friday or
Saturday?
You did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, you did.
56 points. So only 4 off the maximum possible. I think that's going to be one of the highest point totals of the whole season. So yeah, pretty happy with getting 56 points on the Kyle Larson race.
I kind of blocked 36 for 36 out of my memory because I had Hocevar, who once again had a good car and finished dead last.
Yeah. Him and Blaney just bad luck.
Had engine issues. Yeah. Once again, those two. Blaney's off to a rough start. Not without speed though. I mean, that 12 car is fast this year.
Pretty much everywhere.
Coming to Martinsville where he is super fast here lately. Definitely going to be a contender for the win this weekend, but just another bad race. A few other notables. Once again, AJ Allmendinger now has the best average finish at Homestead in the next gen era. This is the 5th race. He got another top 10 finish. He has yet to finish worse than 8th. Shout out to FanDuel for keeping him at plus 270 for a top 10, both before and after qualifying. He qualified 10th. They kept him at plus 270, even with his track record. So thank you very much, FanDuel, for that generous line of a top 10 finish.
That's the thing for me. Like, I probably should have just bet it, but like my model wasn't quite showing value on it. And I think I'm just going to have to tell my model, like, hey, just value track history more. Cause but like it does it optimally into where that, like past races, if you take a large enough sample size, past races, track history hasn't been as important across Homestead, Darlington, etc. Not that it's not important, just it weighs it appropriately based off the past data. But I think going forward, especially with this next gen car, like there's no way to get it to be like, okay, well, we need to weigh track history more. And I think people who value track history a lot more than I do did really well. And I don't value track history as much just in general because there's so much variance in the sport. But, I think maybe with this next gen car, I just need to start valuing track history more because, I didn't have AJ Allmendinger anywhere near plus 270 for a top 10 in my model. I think I had it like plus 350 or something is fair, even after practice and qualifying.
And I think that's definitely the difference between you and me when it comes to betting is like, my mantra when it comes to this next gen car, where like I firmly believe that not much changes race to race and track to track here. And that's why I loved Allmendinger last week. I loved Austin Dillon as a top 10 at 12-1. He finished 13th. They're just those guys.
They're guys I like here for sure. I just, I'm not as high on track history, I guess, as I should be. But yeah, maybe that's something I need to adjust.
A couple guys that had good races but not great finishes. Chase Elliott, he was like, I don't know what's going on with that team. He was fast for a lot of the race. Then he got hit with the penalty. He finished 18th. William Byron was another guy that was strong all day. I know you talked to me about him before the race and said that your model liked him to potentially win but not really dominate. And that's kind of the race he was having. He was running, top 5 all day, and then he got hit with that. I think he had a loose tire, or maybe it was a speeding penalty or something. He rebounded to 12th, and that's about it. Brad Keselowski was garbage all day. That was very surprising.
I was surprised. Yeah. My 2 drivers that I was like, because I definitely liked a whole bunch of other guys. Like I liked Allmendinger. I liked Austin Dillon. We talked about him on this show last week. And, I kind of even got you on Austin Dillon. But, the 2 drivers I think I ended up on was Brad Keselowski and somebody else. I forget who.
Ty Gibbs.
Ty Gibbs. That's right. And
dead to you.
Unbelievable. How can Ty Gibbs go from one of the best cars in practice? Actually, one of the best cars in practice. I mean, we compared his lap times to Kyle Larson, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
To dog shit in the race. Absolute dog shit. So if he is one of the best cars in practice and cannot race, I guess I let practice get to me too much there in that spot. But when you're running lap times with Kyle Larson, I mean, how can you not let practice get to you, get to you there? So I really didn't want to be on Ty Gibbs going into the week. I even said it. I can't. Yeah. He's dead to me. And all of a sudden, popping up arguably the best lap times in all of practice. Had to bet him. And, well, there we go. And similar with Keselowski, man, that car was a top 10 car borderline in practice, especially in the long run. He just did absolutely nothing as well. And usually he's good at these high wire tracks. So the 2 drivers I actually liked just did nothing. And then the next tier of drivers I liked was Bubba Wallace. It was Haley and Zane Smith. I was thinking about betting. I wrote both of them up in my DFS article. Justin Haley I had as a core play, I'm pretty sure. And then Zane was my Paul Menard pick of the week. Right? I should have been betting these guys for top 10s because Haley got a top 10, Zane Smith 11th. And then I also liked, of course, Allmendinger and Austin Dillon as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, FanDuel had Justin Haley at 14-1 for a top 10. I had to sprinkle on that. Anytime you get a Justin Haley like that in a track where Spire has shown a little bit of speed a little bit, you kind of just have to bet it. But you talked about Keselowski. All right, we got a comment that came in. So AJ Allmendinger was dead last in practice. Yeah, but so the problem was with his lap times was his 10 lap average. He came into the pits during it, so it completely tanked his lap times.
Yeah, I removed that lap, and so in flags he looked a lot better, right? I think in my flags metric he was kind of mid pack, and I removed the pit lap, the out lap, all that stuff from his flag. So I only used actual usable laps, and then he's kind of more mid pack in practice.
Yeah. And that was something I was harping on people because a lot of people were making that a big deal during my live stream was, Allmendinger looked junk in practice. Why do you like him so much? I'm like, he didn't look as bad as you think he did.
Right.
But going back to someone that was junk, Keselowski, it's I don't know if it's concerning. I mean, obviously he's not off to a great start. He's way down in the points this week or after this week. But the other RFK cars were good. Chris Buescher had a top 5 car by the end of that race. Ryan Preece ended up with a top 10 finish despite starting 31st. I don't know if Keselowski's testing. Sometimes RFK, they have 2 completely different setups. We've seen it before where Buescher and Keselowski are different. Maybe they're doing that again. But yeah, definitely just something weird. And Ty Gibbs, I honestly think at this point, I can't even trust his practice data anymore. I don't care if he goes out there and practices.
One thing I'm going to start doing after this week, I don't have time this week, is a new segment called, I shouldn't say segment, but a new analysis called Shakers and Fakers. And it's basically going to be, how does your practice flags compare to your race flags? So we can find out, who are the shakers in practice that actually are still good in the race, and who are the fakers in practice, like Ty Gibbs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we'll see if there's like a common theme among guys. Like, is it every week Ty Gibbs is a faker? Then you can start to like, it's more like a who can we trust and distrust in practice kind of thing. But I think it's a cool name, Shakers and Fakers.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's awesome to like, I love the way my brain's wired. I love finding patterns. So like something like that, I love to look at. Yeah. I love to look at like who practices, Zane Smith's another one that typically practices and qualifies better than he actually runs. Now, is that due to the fact that it was Zane Smith last year? We have a pretty small sample size with Zane Smith, but he's another one that comes to mind.
I thought he's been pretty predictive this year so far.
Yeah, I'm saying last year. I'm still stuck on last year on Zane Smith. Like he's so dead to me that I don't even look at him now.
I mean, I really liked him this week, and he did well. And then I think I liked him at Phoenix too, and he did well. So
I might come around sometime on him.
I feel like my Paul Menard pick of the week, like 65% of the time, is either Zane or Daniel Suarez.
Mm-hmm. Those guys that nobody can trust, or like an Austin Dillon or yeah. Cindric had another good race. He was another one that got hit by a penalty. He's one to keep an eye on this.
Yeah, I definitely am kind of getting high on Austin Cindric, and he was a faker in that his practice times weren't good, but he looked good in the race. So fakers can go both ways. They can fake you out on the high side or on the low side.
But yeah, Bubba Wallace, another strong finish. He has I think the third most stage points this year. Like that team is running extremely well. And Alex Bowman, I think has, how many top 10s does he have this year? He's third in points. He has 5 top 10s through the first 6 races. We're back to, you remember before Bowman got hurt, when he had that run of constantly finishing top 10 before he had his injury. I think we're back to that Alex Bowman,
Oh yeah, I think so too. He looks good. He's running really well, and he's third in points.
Yeah. I mean, points are just what Hendrick and
I don't think, even though he got in the wall and Larson got past him, I don't think he would have been able to hold off Larson anyway. But no, man, he had a chance to if he hadn't gotten in the wall there. At least he had a chance to.
Yeah. The fact that he was in the running, I think is definitely significant. So yeah, good season going for Bowman. He's been pretty strong at Martinsville, as has Hendrick as a whole. But anything else from you for Homestead before we look at these point standings?
No, I mean, just got to weigh track history more. And then I think this Shakers and Fakers thing will really help. So you combine those things, and I think my my bets, I'm still doing well overall this year, I think, in betting, although I've had like 2 or 3 races in a row where either bad bets or bad luck, like Blaney winning last week, 14-1, and he, has all the problems that he had. And then, just being on the wrong guys this week. So definitely bad bets this week, but I was really close to having some good bets as well. So I think just taking this extra couple steps here should help. I'll probably end up weighing track history, like forcing my model to weigh track history more until it goes too far. Or I don't feel like it's as good. But right now I let my model choose all the weights and all the variables that go into it because it's a machine learning model, and that's what it does. It's not supposed to have any of my own input, but I can always override that as well. And so I might start doing that. But I think this Shakers and Fakers thing will help as well. And that's really all from Homestead. I mean, Keselowski and Ty Gibbs, I think, are definitely 2 concerns, and then track history, guys that are good here did well here. So yeah, I guess Ross Chastain, like, what the hell's going on with that car?
I honestly, we talked about that in the preseason. I think Trackhouse expanded too far and too quick, and then Pitbull leaving. I think they have come back down to earth, not just come back down to earth, but crashed back down to earth. There's going to be races where both him, Suarez, and obviously SVG is going to be fast on road courses, but it's no longer, I don't think Chastain is a weekly top 10 threat.
No, I don't think so
right
either.
now.
Yeah, I mean that he was bad, and normally Homestead's a really good track for him. So super concerning for Ross Chastain.
A couple more things. One, I'm really liking the most fastest lap bets for the fact that I bet Blaney that at Homestead, and then like I kind of hedged against it in DFS. So he had all those fastest laps, and I won that bet, but I didn't get destroyed in DFS because of that. I like all these additional markets we can now bet with, fastest lap, most fastest laps, and DraftKings opened it back up after qualifying as well, which was pretty cool to see. But another guy I wanted to touch on was I lost my train of thought here. Tyler Reddick. He really we obviously expected more out of him. But really wasn't in the conversation all day. He had a couple good restarts, and he got up to third at one point because of a good restart, but finished eighth. Did not have a typical Reddick day. Nothing. I don't think it's anything to be concerned about, especially with how good Bubba ran. But definitely something interesting there with Reddick.
The thing about Reddick is he was ninth in my practice flag, so he ran right around where he practiced. So in that regards, he's a shaker, if you will, or I don't know. Maybe I have to come up with a better term for it, like shakers, fakers, and makers or something. I don't know. Like if you make more out of your race than you do your like the shakers would be like the guys that were fast ran fast. The fakers would be the guys that practiced fast didn't run fast, and then the makers would be like the guys that ran slow made it up in the race, right, and ran fast in the race. So maybe shakers, fakers, and makers. And stinkers. The guys that ran slow were also all right, we'll workshop it, but that was just kind of something I was toying around with when I was like thinking about the race. I think it was yesterday or something. I was on a walk and just kind of thinking about it. I was like, that's kind of a cool idea. So yeah. But no, I mean Reddick was fine. Like you said, he ran in the top 10 all day, pushed into the top 5 a few times, but just didn't have the speed that even like Bubba Wallace had. And that was the thing about Bubba, second in practice flags and ran like a top 3 car all day as well. So
yeah,
maker, a shaker right there.
Oh, all right. Moving over to point standings. William Byron on top by 36 points over Larson, who jumped up 4 spots. Like we said before, Alex Bowman is third. And then a couple Toyotas, Reddick, Christopher Bell. Chase Elliott's in 6th, so we got 300 cars in the top 6. 400 cars in the top 6. I can't do math. Bubba Wallace sitting there nicely in 7th. Denny Hamlin's up there. Busher. Blaney fell a few spots after his issue. But what I'm most concerned about, one, is the fact that Jimmy Johnson still has more points than Cody Ware. And Cody Ware has 6 starts this year. But Ty Gibbs is 176 points out of the lead. Brad Keselowski is 160 points out of the lead. Keselowski's sitting 30th. Ty Gibbs is sitting 34th. When do we call them must wins to get into the playoffs? Because I think it's getting close.
Ty Gibbs, I think, already is a must win. Because right now the points bubble is 130 points for Ryan Preece. So Ty Gibbs is 62 points out. But that points bubble is probably going to move up because we're going to get a winner or two from outside the top 16, you'd think. And so he can't keep losing ground. He has to gain ground. We can look at Michael McDowell or Ross Chastain. They're 4 points ahead of that. So Ty Gibbs is almost in must-win mode. Brad Keselowski, not quite, especially because I think Brad Keselowski is also run better than Ty Gibbs. And in some cases, maybe not amazing, but a little bit better in certain cases. But still probably needs to be thinking about potentially going on some alt strategies to try to grab some wins in when it makes sense.
And I know people are going to say, it's still early in the season. Well, the fact of the matter is Martinsville is race number 7. We are officially over a quarter of the way through the regular season after Martinsville this weekend. Like this season is the regular season is it's getting there. We're not slowing down by any means. So yeah, I agree with you. Ty Gibbs, I think I don't know if they'll win outside of a fluke luck win, because that team is just completely lost. I know we talked about it last week, and it just, I think the effort at Homestead just once again proved it.
Yeah.
Dillon brothers are tied in points with Carson Hocevar. You're a little surprised that Ty Dillon is running that well, but he does more on the survive and finish 25th than he does at actually having the kind of the kangaroo.
That's exactly what I said he was going to do at Homestead, right? Finish 22nd to 28th, and he did exactly that.
Yep.
He was okay punt play in DFS. Like, he wasn't amazing. I think he started in the mid 30s and finished 27th.
Yeah. He was a good cap relief option in like high dollar, because you could. Mm-hmm. It was a perfect time to use him in high dollar.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of that, any other notables you got here in the point standings? Christopher Bell only having 27 stage points this year. Denny Hamlin almost only having 25.
I was going to say, I'm looking at Chris Buescher and Joey Logano, and I'm like, man, how are they near each other in points, given the fact that, Logano's had no
zero top tens,
and Buescher has 4. And then I look over at stage points. I'm like, 51 versus 13 for Logano, right? I mean, that's ridiculous. That's 38 extra stage points for Joey Logano. Chris Buescher getting good finishes, but I think he needs to start racking up some stage points to feel really comfortable about, where he's at. And Joey Logano needs to start putting some finishes together, because, best finish of 12th this year.
That's the thing with Buescher, though, is, he's one of those predictable guys. He's not going to blow you away in practice. He's not going to qualify well, but he's going to improve throughout the race. And then he's going to be in the top 10 by the end of it. Whereas Larson takes a similar path. Typically, Larson has the really good practice. He might not qualify well. He might not start off the race very well, but that's another team that they always improve as the race goes on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Buescher needs to, and obviously it's working for him right now. They're 9th in points. It's strictly because they're getting the finishes. As soon as those finishes start dropping off and you're not getting the stage points, you're going to drop like a rock in the standings. That's just how it's going to happen.
Yep.
So, it's Buescher is it's an interesting thing with him, how that team performs and how he a typical race like his goes. Michael McDowell and Ross Chastain tied in points.
Yep. Shows you where kind of where Ross is at, though, or Trackhouse is at.
Yep. And then, I am very Chase Briscoe's sitting 13th in points, right above those two that I just mentioned. 13th in points with only 8 stage points is pretty solid for that team. I am very curious to see how that 19 does this weekend at Martinsville, because Chase Briscoe is really good at Martinsville.
Chase Briscoe has been good at all these tracks, I mean,
I know.
The past in certain ways, other than maybe Vegas.
And then they finally maybe kind of turned a corner at Homestead. I don't know. I liked what I saw out of them, later in the race.
Yeah, he was almost I don't know where was he in my practice flags? I'm looking. Briscoe. Yeah, he was kind of mid-pack. He was almost like a maker in that he ran better than he practiced. So and I think a little bit at Vegas. Well, like at Vegas, he was god awful in practice, and he was kind of mid-pack in the race. So Briscoe might be one that actually ends up racing better than he practices this year, at least through 2 intermediate race sample size, So we'll see. I don't remember Phoenix either. I'll have to look at that, but
he wasn't great at Phoenix, but he did have I saw a soundbite basically where he said, I think it was last week heading into Homestead, he basically said that he's just not, he doesn't know, these Toyotas drive so differently than what he's used to that he's having a hard time adjusting. So I think it's just going to be a time thing for him of getting used to these race cars for sure.
Yeah.
But we got a whine about it segment. I know you have something from last week that you didn't mention.
Do I?
I don't know if that's gonna be yours. You texted me.
Did I? I don't even remember what I texted you.
Practices on the same time.
Oh yeah. So I mean, come on. Okay, and actually, this it ties into what my wine about it was going to be, and it's more IndyCar related, but people are like shitting on the IndyCar TV number, and like, sure, it's not a good raw number, but when you consider everything that fucked it up, it's really not that bad. First of all, we went to IndyCar's most god awful track. We had a 3-week layoff. IndyCar did, which completely kills momentum. But that's been the IndyCar norm anyway forever, with a big layoff between the first and second race. But the bigger issue was this time, Thermal, the IndyCar race, went up against NCAA basketball, whereas last year it didn't, right? I mean, you're going up against the NCAA tournament, and it went head-to-head with NASCAR, which last year it didn't, right? It was an exhibition race last year, like an all-star type race, and they were at separate times. So, like, there's so many things that play into that number that I think it's plus the coverage went out for 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Right.
So there's so many things that just, it was like the perfect storm of bad things to happen to where like the number makes sense. Yeah, everybody sees 50% drop, this low number, lower than Xfinity, lower than trucks, lower than whatever, Formula One at 3 a.m. But if you actually had put that race maybe not on the first weekend of March Madness, not head-to-head with the Cup Series, didn't have an outage, and maybe did it a week before, so you only had a 2-week layoff instead of a 3-week layoff, I bet that number is 950,000, $1 million almost. And so that's really good. That would have put it above trucks and right on par with Xfinity, which is what you'd expect from IndyCar. So my whine about was almost people kind of whining about the IndyCar number, but also just the fact that, like, dude, they're both on Fox, NASCAR and IndyCar. They're both on Fox at this time of year. Why is Fox having one on FS1 and one on Fox at the same time? There has to be schedule considerations there from Fox and from IndyCar and from NASCAR. Work together. It's the whole rising tide, whatever, all those boats go up or whatever that saying is. I'm not good with English stuff and phrases, but like, work together. NASCAR and IndyCar should be working together to have their schedules complement each other, because then you get more audience. Both of you do. Because I know people who like both NASCAR and IndyCar probably had both on, but some didn't. And some either had to choose NASCAR, some had to choose IndyCar. There is definitely a group that chose NASCAR because NASCAR is the more prevalent one, the Cup Series. But there's also a group of people that would choose IndyCar first. A smaller group of people, but still a group of people that would choose IndyCar first. I would choose IndyCar first if I only had one option. I would choose IndyCar. Thankfully, I was able to put both on. But I work together. And we've talked about this before, but now it's especially more important to work together now that you're both on Fox at the same time. Come on.
Yeah, it sounded like the perfect storm for, like the raw number is, and I tweeted it. I was like, ooh, that's just like not a good like shock value when you first see the number. But it sounded like it was the perfect storm for the number to be low. So I'm curious to see if IndyCar bounces back. But yeah, like I honestly, I don't understand what Fox is doing at all with any of their sports coverage. It's truly baffling. Like, even the call, did you like? I didn't really notice it when I was watching the race live because it was exciting enough to me that I know, like, in my head I was excited. But like the pass for the lead, when you watch the replay back, it's just like it's just like the other the Daytona 500 when I think Stenhouse won it, so a couple years ago, and it sounded like the booth was asleep. Like.
And like, I know you're not like the biggest I know you're not the biggest Lee Diffie guy, but can you imagine how exciting he would have made that?
Oh yeah.
Lee Diffie is the definition of excitement.
It's amazing how, and like I said a few weeks ago, it's awful how they are the beginning broadcaster of the sport, because this is where you get the fan base. Like, it's just. But yeah, I'm curious to see how the rest of the season goes with IndyCar, and because I don't think the coverage is that bad. I like, as far as Fox, like, actually bringing the races to people. And obviously it's on Main Fox, but yeah, they have some things to figure out, especially, scheduling wise and everything.
Yeah, for sure. So that's my whine about it. Pretty short and sweet and to the point, but it makes sense. And I'm not as down on the IndyCar number as a lot of people on Twitter that I've seen, in the half a day I've been on Twitter today. But yeah, I'm not too down on IndyCar at all. I think they'll, especially for Long Beach, like one of the marquee events, I think they'll bounce back and it'll be strong. So yeah.
When is that? Because we're immediately betting Kyle Kirkwood, right?
April 13th. Yep. We are. I mean, if he opens anything above 12, we're betting it instantly, even at 12. And I bet Kirkwood 18-1 after the first practice, and they had a ton of speed, but their tire fall off. And I know this about Andretti, especially at a track like Thermal. They just struggle with fall off. But at Long Beach, they don't, there's almost no tire fall off at Long Beach. So, and it's a street course. So absolutely going to go with Kyle Kirkwood at Long Beach and all of Andretti really. Should be a strong performance for them. Got to go with the Ganassi cars as well. Palou, he's won the first 2 races this year, but winning at St. Pete on a street course is a pretty big deal because Ganassi's kind of played second fiddle to Andretti at the street courses as far as the Honda teams are concerned. But Ganassi now has the alliance with Meyer-Shank Racing, and that might not sound like a big deal because you're like, Meyer-Shank Racing, what the fuck? But Meyer-Shank Racing had the alliance with Andretti last year. So now Meyer-Shank Racing took all those Andretti secrets and can share them with Ganassi now. So it's a huge deal for Ganassi. And I was kind of high on Ganassi in that opening race of St. Pete, and Palou won. And, anytime you can get Palou better than -200 for a top 3 at a natural terrain road course, so not Long Beach, but natural terrain, you got to bet that. So I pounded Palou -160 after qualifying for a top 3. I didn't like tracking the app or anything, but absolutely pounded that. I'd been talking about that all week with a few people. Just if Palou's better than -200 at a natural road course, you just bet it every day, all day, every day.
Don't even think about it.
Don't even think about it. Yeah. Kind of like if Kyle's longer than 12 at a street course, don't even think about it. Just bet it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. My wine about it, as always, presented by Lubabella Winery, is did you see the story of Childress and Gibbs after the race?
I did. I saw that.
I don't like the fact that people, not only media members, but fans, are normalizing this and not calling it what it is. That's fucking psychotic.
Mm-hmm.
That is, you know what? A regular person does that, they're catching a charge.
Mm-hmm.
And he just has fuck you money so he can do it. No, that is insane. And the fact that people are laughing about this and saying, oh, that's just Childress. No, that's fucking psychotic.
Absolutely.
And that's all I have to say about that. That is insane.
No, that's completely abnormal behavior. If you were just Joe Schmo and you go sideswipe the other car or 2 other cars, ram yours into theirs, yeah, you're catching a charge for intentional wrecking. I mean, I don't even know what the charge is. It's beyond reckless driving. It's something else. Like it's intentionally causing, I mean, it almost could be assault, right? So yeah, I mean, that's absolutely psychotic behavior. And I mean, it's not anything new for Richard Childress. But while we're on that, Kyle Busch responding about, the possibility of going to Hendrick again or Joe Gibbs again. Like it,
I miss this. What do you say?
I saw it over the weekend. It was I think it was a interview with Bob Pockris maybe or something. And maybe it wasn't Bob, it was somebody, but there was a question about like, would you go back to wherever? And, drivers, I saw a comment from another driver. I forget who, but it was like, normally you'd kind of downplay these things. I was very shocked by the fact that Kyle just answered it straight up, was like, I'd consider going back to Gibbs or Hendrick or whatever. Like,
wow.
So maybe there's not enough love going on there in the Childress camp with Kyle Busch. And I think this is his contract year, if I'm correct too.
I would imagine that he's quite frustrated at Childress is what Childress is. Like RCR has been like this for however long, and like the fact that Rowdy was able to win however many races a couple years ago with them, I think was more of a fluke than anything.
It was both a fluke and an awesome achievement for him, for Rowdy.
Yeah. And yeah, this is his contract year. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I honestly, when he made that like announcement coming, I think on Monday, I thought it was going to be his retirement announcement. Like I figured he'd just be like, I'm fucking done with this. So yeah. So yeah, that's my whine about it. I don't understand why people are normalizing this or promoting this or acting like it's normal behavior, but that's really messed up. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. It's it's annoying.
Yep.
All right, we're on to Martinsville. Short track racing at the paperclip. What is it? The Cookout 400, I think. Cookout 500, something like that. I got a message earlier today. There could be rain in the forecast. We might potentially see wet weather tires. I haven't double checked. I'm trying to pull up the weather right now. Martinsville, Virginia. A year ago, I was at Martinsville. I enjoy that racetrack. I enjoy going to that racetrack.
Yep.
Looks like there's a 58% chance of rain there on Sunday. So we could end up seeing wet weather tires, which is going to, just potentially add another twist into this.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes betting it early in the week even harder.
Yep, exactly. And I have I grabbed some fastest laps bets and most fastest laps. Like I have like two small bets out, and then Gilliland plus 950 for a top 10. I did bet that, but other than that, like I haven't seen anything like I really like. I know there's I know a couple people have grabbed outrights, but nothing's really like caught my eye where I'm like, I need to bet that. I'm like, I'm fine.
The one thing that sticks in my mind when we're talking about rain is New Hampshire last year, right? We had rain there, and certain guys came forward really well. I think Christopher Bell did really well. I think Briscoe did really well in the rain. I even want to say maybe like a Todd Gilliland did really well. I can't remember completely, but I remember Bell and Briscoe did really well. The Stewart Haas guys came forward. So Cole Custer.
Cole Custer is really good at Martinsville.
RFK car now, essentially. Plus Stewart Haas has always been good at Martinsville. I was just watching Martinsville from 2 years ago last night, and like all the Priest led. It was the one where I was at Long Beach for Kyle's first win. So I missed that race live. Like I didn't watch it. So I think that was the first time I ever watched it. Priest led the whole bunch of the first race, of the first portion of that race, I should say. And then he got shuffled back, but the other three Stewart Haas cars were all in the top 10 for almost the rest of the race. Almirola, Briscoe, and whoever was the third car. Oh, Harvick, of course. So like Stewart Haas is good here. And now Custer has a Stewart Haas car with an RFK alliance. Like Cole Custer for a top 10 is kind of potentially interesting, especially if we throw in rain, and that could just shake things up. Who knows? But I haven't bet anything. I haven't even looked at odds. I don't know what his top 10 odds are or anything. But that was just one of those things that came to mind while you were talking about rain, was like, who's good in the rain? Stewart Haas was the last time we saw, or maybe the only time we saw the Cup race in the rain.
And
with
I'm
rain
glad
tires,
you
I should say. We've seen him run in the rain before at New Hampshire and all smack the wall.
Oh, don't remind me. Don't remind me. That was a bad DFS day before the fucking race even got started.
Yeah.
But that's a good point that you mentioned about RFK being, or not RFK, but Stewart Haas being so good at Martinsville in this next gen car, because you have to kind of now adjust how you analyze this race, because all of a sudden there's no why do I keep saying RFK? There's no 4 Stewart Haas cars in this race. So it essentially brings everybody else up. The guys that were like 15th are now 11th or 12th. So like obviously we know who's going to run well here. Hendrick runs really well here. Penske runs really well here. But after that, we have, Denny Hamlin's pretty good here. Chase Briscoe's really good here. But then there's like, Bubba Wallace has been really good here lately. Tyler Reddick sucks here. But we saw SVG finish 12th here last year. We've seen Allmendinger finish well here before. We've seen Todd Gilliland finish well here before. Austin Dillon has a pretty good track record. So I do think if you're looking to bet stuff early in the week, I think there's a lot of value, like you said, in these top 10 markets.
Let me remind you the last time Cole Custer raced at Martinsville in the spring, which is this race. That was in 2022, the first year of the next gen car. Qualified third, finished stage 1 and 3rd, finished stage 2 and 5th, and then got a penalty. And remember, you couldn't pass that year. So he got a penalty and got shuffled back, ended up getting lapped because you're at the end of the lead lap and you can't pass. But the only person who can pass is the leader. Finished 21st, but I mean, he was a top 5, top 10 car. So that was the last time he raced here in the spring. That fall, he finished 14th. And in fall of 2020, his first year with Stuart Haas, he finished 13th. So this is a guy who can get it done at Martinsville.
Okay, here's the question for you.
Yeah.
He's 14-1 for a top 10 at FanDuel. Is that good enough to hit right now?
Might be the only bet I make this week prior to practice and qualifying. I haven't looked at all at NASCAR this week, period, because I took a couple days just completely off. Did absolutely nothing with any sport whatsoever. And then been doing basketball stuff today because we have our basketball show in about 45 minutes. So if I had to say 14-1, absolutely. I would say, yeah, that would be my favorite bet right now.
That's I don't mind that bet. I might sprinkle on it. As I mentioned before, my favorite bet right now is another Ford, Todd Gilliland, for a top 10 at plus 950.
Yeah.
But sense. Yeah, Cole Custer is definitely someone to keep an eye on this weekend. My only reservation for him is how that team has ran overall this year. I expected them to run a little bit better, for example, at Phoenix. But if this is the perfect scenario for the buy low situation on Custer, because this is such a good track for him, and this is such a good track for Ford in general. So yeah, I'm with you there. Martinsville is a place for we have the top tier guys, but then the mid tier guys are where it really gets interesting because there can be a ton of value up there. We've seen, like I said, Ryan Preece is really good here. We could see him get another top 10 this week. Would not be surprising at all if he competed for a top 5. SVG 12th last race here. We've seen Christopher Bell win here before. He's kind of like, his stats aren't amazing here. Austin Cindric has a top 5 finish here recently. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has finished top 10. Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon both have had decent runs here in the past.
Josh Berry.
Even Harrison Burton has finished top 15 here in 2 of the last 5 races.
Yeah.
Josh Berry's a lot better racer than Harrison Burton is.
Than old Harry Burt's. Yeah. And AJ Allmendinger traditionally has been very good here as well, although less so in the next gen era. But prior to the next gen era, he was always a guy that was competing for top 10s. And those road course guys we like to talk about at Martinsville. So you mentioned SVG there. So yeah, there's a whole mid-tier. Noah Gragson. I don't know if you said him, but
nope,
him as well. This race is kind of wide open, and it's a track position race, especially in the spring. We've noticed it's always been more of a track position race than in the fall, where you still are kind of coming down from that summer heat. So the tires fall off a little bit better. You can pass a little bit easier, but coming off the cold where, the earth hasn't heated up as much and the atmosphere hasn't heated up as much, Martinsville's been a track position race. So if you can get track position this time of year at Martinsville, you can finish in the top 10. So I think long shot top 10s are very much in play. And I think those are probably the only bets I'd consider right now. I wouldn't consider any outright bets just because rain's in the forecast, right? Like there is a 50% chance of rain How is that going to affect things? Who's that going to help? Who's that going to hurt? We don't really know. We have a one race sample size on that.
Right. And I think it's going to be, even if it doesn't rain, it's going to be significantly colder.
Which makes track position more important
on Sunday compared to practice on Saturday as well.
Yeah.
I think on Saturday it's going to be 77, and then Sunday it can get into the mid to low 60s. So that's a significant temperature change there. So yeah, I think track position is going to be huge this week, as it always is. Like you mentioned at this spring Martinsville race. Outside of, we had that in this same race last year, we had the late caution due to John Hunter Nemechek, and then some of those guys pitted, some didn't, and that's where we saw a bunch of shuffling there at the end. That was I think that was another year. Oh, I once again lost my train of thought. As far as tires go, using the same tires that they did last fall at Martinsville, they also use these same tires at Bowman Gray earlier this year.
Yeah.
So something worth noting there with Chase Elliott, started from the pole. Like that race was all about track position as well. Chase Elliott started from the pole, had the most fastest laps.
Here's one. I got a bet.
Ooh, there we go.
Bet. I'm going to go better right now. I might have to actually pull it up here. So if you're listening, you all will be first dibs of this as well. But it's over on Caesars. I'm still trying to pull it up. I got to enter my 6-digit code. Let's see how long that takes. There we go. Verify. Auto, NASCAR, Cookout 400. Click that thing. Go over to the props tab. No, not the props tab. Oh, yeah, there it is. Props tab. Wait, what? Oh. Hold up. Is it not offered here? I have it default. I have it default to New Jersey on my work computer because that gives me the most options everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not available here. Okay, so if you are in a state that has this, wait, it disappeared. I refreshed it and it's gone. Even in New Jersey. No, never mind. I didn't. I switched states there. All right, so if you have this, average speed of race.
Yep.
The last two were under 76.5, and we have rain in the forecast.
Sold.
Right? So I can't bet it myself. It's just not available to me, amazingly enough. But yeah, there you go.
That is weird that I know offerings are different between states, but
yeah, I just on my work laptop, I always default everything to New Jersey because it gives me the most options so I can help the most people typically. But I can flip and swap states and stuff like that. But yeah, I open it up here and it's not available for me.
Weird. Oh. All right. So bet the under on average speed of race, 75.5.
76.5, right?
It moved to 75.
Oh, wow. It already moved.
Or it might be, I don't know. It's showing 75 on mine.
It was, yeah, I literally flipped tabs and then flipped back, and now it's 75.5. So
that's fun.
There you go.
They're listening to you, Doc. You like 75 at all, or were you going 76?
I don't hate 75.5. Last race was 76 on the dot. Before that it was 74. But if we get rain, I mean, we're going to get some extra cautions. We're going to get some slower lap times. So yeah, I'll take a 50% chance of rain and a 50% chance without rain that we stay under 76.5 anyway, right?
Yep. Makes sense. All right. Anybody else you want to talk about at Homestead or at Martinsville this week?
No, I think we're good. I think we got to get some picks.
Yeah. All right. It's your turn to go first this week. Picks to win. I am officially, this needs to be studied. Because how the hell do I pick Larson at Vegas and he has one of the fastest cars? I picked Blaney at Homestead and he has the fastest car. And I don't have shit to show for it.
Yep.
Oh. But you had Byron last week. He got that penalty. He finished 12th. You still have an average finish this year of 8.83 compared to my 18.5. Who's your pick to win for Martinsville?
You can go with Chase.
I like it.
Which
I
one?
like that a lot.
Which one?
Oh! I immediately just went to Elliott, but you're going to say Briscoe, aren't you?
I'm going to say Elliott.
Okay.
But I do like Chase Briscoe.
Yeah. I agree with you there. And I like Elliott. I like Elliott for most fastest laps this week. He opened at plus 850.
I like his outright price if there wasn't rain, but given there's rain in the forecast, I don't like his outright price.
I agree. Yep. 100%. It's just, I'm not interested in outrights right now.
No, it's too hard to bet this race knowing there's a 50-50 chance that it could be impacted by rain.
Mm-hmm. All right. My choice. Man, this is officially like I'm just jinxing whoever because I clearly have something wrong with me in my choices. But I am going to stick with my thought process and my mantra of things don't really change with this car. I'm going William Byron. Started 18th last spring, ended up in victory lane, leading 88 laps. Really good here at Homestead. Or why do I keep calling this Homestead? Really good here at Martinsville. He's won 2 of the 6 next gen races. Give me Willie B to continue on with that B winner thing. I know we didn't get one at Homestead, but
we got Kyle Larson, so we're good.
Yeah, Kyle Larson. We almost had Alex Bowman.
Yep.
I was rooting for that.
We almost had Bubba Wallace, right?
Probably should have been Brian Blaney. I'm waiting for the first sportsbook to offer will a B name win this race. That would be
that'd be hilarious.
I would bet that's awesome. Now the interesting pick though. Again, Nick has Chase Elliott, I have William Byron. We are on Hendrick for our picks to win this week. Now we get 36 for 36, which at this point I am so far behind. I am annoyed. We have to make our picks. I'm also doing I'm sorry. I apologize to anybody that is playing with us. I am doing such a bad job of updating this. I swear I will get caught up. I
still need to actually on the site submit my pick from this past week, which was Larson. So I'm sure you can also manually enter those in for me.
Yeah.
But 36 for 36. I am going with, I don't think it's any surprise here, Ryan Preece.
Not a bad pick at all. One of his best tracks. And really, where else are you going to use him? At this point, I need points. I'm going Priest too.
There you go.
I was thinking Custer, but I already used Custer. I don't really feel like and the other guy that I was thinking about was Logano. I don't really trust Logano right now.
I was thinking about Barry. I was thinking about Gregson. A couple options here.
Yeah, Gregson's always
Gilly Gang.
I think I might use Gilly on a road course, or probably not on a road course, but somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going Priest as well for that. For 36 36. Hopefully I get more than 3 points like I did from Carson Hocevar last week. DraftKings. I think I closed the gap. I took the lead in the overall points. So last week I had 240.6 points. You had 180.95.
Brutal.
So head to head, we are now. I have 3 wins. You have 2 wins, and total points. I'm at 1067.9, and you're at 1051.65. So very close. Very close.
Yeah.
Let me pull up the screen here. There we go. Oops. All right. Again, interesting pricing this week. I really liked the Homestead pricing. I thought it was tough, and I think this week at Martinsville is going to be fun too. I think they nailed the pricing this week once again.
I agree. I think that they did a good job. I do think that it's a little softer than last week, a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I thought they nailed Homestead. This one isn't 100%, but it's definitely it's going to make you think. It's going to make you put strategy into it.
Yeah, it will. All right, so I'm first, huh?
Yep.
Give me Gilly, 5,600.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an immediate on mine as well.
Yeah. Give me Chase Elliott. I think with track position being so important potentially, I don't necessarily need to go all the way up to Ryan Blaney at 11-2 if Elliott can qualify in pole and lead 150 laps from the pole, right?
Yep.
Yep. So I think I like going on the cheaper side of the Dominators this week. Bubba Wallace just underpriced, 7,200.
I agree, 100%. Love Bubba Wallace this week.
Give me William Byron. It's just super consistent here, and again on that cheaper side of the Dominators. Let's see. Oh man, tough. I could do that. Give me Ryan Preece and Chase Briscoe.
That's a solid lineup. That's solid. I like that. Yeah, Bubba is so underpriced this week. I have a feeling like even before practice and qualifying, and no matter what happens there, I can guarantee I'm going to have a ton of Gilliland and Bubba this week, just based on their prices. Gilliland's the go-to low dollar guy, outside of if someone qualifies dead last, but yeah, that's solid there. So you got Byron, Elliott, Briscoe, Bubba, Preece, and Gilliland. I hate to start off the exact same way, but I'm starting Gilliland, Chase, Bubba. Like
Absolutely.
I said, they are my favorites here. I am going to go a little bit different direction, I think, though, than you went up to 7,500 with Preece. I think I'm going to see what I can do down here.
I looked at that too. I looked at like Custer instead and those kinds of things, or Allmendinger.
Yeah. So right now I'm gonna throw. Give me an SVG here just to see what kind of cap space I got, because I want to go with Blaney or Larson. I'm not sure which one yet. But if I go Blaney, man, do I trust Bell or do I want to move it up to get to Byron or
Hamlin?
That's tough.
I guess you'd get up to Byron.
You know what I'm gonna do?
Mr. Dead to you.
Do I want to do that? No, I'm going to do this. Going Penske. Penske and Chase Elliott.
Logano, Blaney, and Austin Dillon. That's an interesting path.
Right?
Yep. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
I just don't know, man. Yeah, I could go SVG and Bell, but I like Austin Dillon not qualifying well, and I like his track record here. So I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go Blaney.
I really was trying to work in some Josh Berry in that, but I just ended up, if I went Josh Berry instead of Preece, then I'd have to come down from Briscoe, and it was like Bowman, which is fine, but I think I like Preece and Berry to me are kind of the same. So I like $600 extra to work with because I definitely prefer Briscoe over Bowman. Not that Bowman's bad here. I mean, he's already got a win here, right? But I just think I prefer Briscoe a little bit more than Bowman.
I will note I like your lineup better. I really do. But I'm sticking to my guns here, and I'm going Blaney, Logano, Elliott. Ooh. All right, I'll be sure to enter those in. Neither of ours cashed last week. Mine was kind of close. I put it in that like little $3 contest.
Yeah.
All right, you got anything else before we wrap this thing up?
Nope. I gotta get rolling. I got my basketball show.
Yep, I just checked the time. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next week as usual. Good luck at Martinsville. See you guys.
See y'all.